Hello there everyone and welcome back. The championship has officially started, and interestingly enough, I was thinking there was like a completely different game mode, but what they did instead is they completely reset the league rankings there for ranked mode. So it is kind of how I predicted. Maybe I got a little bit lucky trying to guess that it was going to be the best of three format, but the championship is now underway and already people are diving in there. So this is basically what I'm looking to field there. If you were watching my stream over the weekend, you already have a good idea of what I'm trying to accomplish here. I have increased speed on my torpedoes on everything, increased durability for shields for longer range engagements, with all my ships having the shield transfer. Oh, that's not shield transfer. The shield transfer to try and help mitigate a lot of the long range damage, especially like in situations like Eldar with their Maelstrom, and it also helps to deny beacons that get stuck on me. So at least then, silent running is still an option for me if my opponent is deciding to commit to the long range route. And for my heavy hitters, I still have the armor piercing rounds for the close range engagements. It's unfortunately only tied to my highest level fleet, or my highest level ship, so it's not going to be consistent when I do get up close and personal, but at least my biggest and most powerful ships can do threatening damage if I were to like fight orcs or something that is trying to abuse the fact that I'm more committed to a longer drawn out fight. I have the potential. It's just not the most effective, which kind of makes me want to switch out, now that I think of it, switch out the armor piercing rounds maybe to my tyrants then, because technically the macro cans are better on the tyrants than the overlords. Nonetheless, this isn't really like a completely fleshed out fleet, but I'm hoping to have some good luck with it, so that's my first experimentation, I think, right there, is swap out the tyrants. But one other thing that I made a change to, instead of having the Gothic, I'm going to experiment with more of a support dictator, and I'm thinking of using this more for like Tau and possibly heavy fighter fleets, maybe Eldar. I haven't quite decided on that, especially since I haven't ever really used the dictator at all, let alone I don't even think I used the Mars aside for the campaign itself. So whether this will be effective or not, the main idea is to shoot down fighters. I don't actually plan on using this to shoot down torpedoes for me, because that's a little bit random, because more than likely they're going to shoot torpedoes closer to the dictator, which are not going to be what I want to go after. So I'm going to use the fighters specifically for shooting down his fighters and bombers, ideally. And if I can get additional bombers out of it, then that'd be good. Also, let's see, this is pretty much it in a nutshell. With the extra renown that I have left over for improved auger array to help have some additional sensor coverage, because I don't know how vulnerable I am relying on Widowmakers. If I can feel like I can get away with the extended sensors, then I could probably put that to upgrade my tyrants a bit more. Hell, there's almost enough here to put both armor piercing rounds on my tyrants there, and that would solve the issue I was wondering about there. So this is what I'm having for my fleet. Also, to note, I'm going to do something a little bit different for my actual match recordings here. I'm going to do the matches themselves separately, and then afterwards I'm going to do commentary on the matches as it happens, basically. Or rather, after I do the matches, I'm going to go back into my recording and do commentary based on that match for you. I don't know how well if it's going to be as far as a YouTube video, me commenting something that I already know is going to happen, but it should help ensure that I'm in best form, that I'm not distracted, and while I don't think I'm solid enough to say I can win a championship, at least I could put a solid effort, and hopefully, as this championship progresses, I can give you the best possible matches I can give you. For entertainment's sake, it just remains to be seen if the commentary is going to be hindered as a result. But with that said, if by chance you are not interested in the championship itself, or you actually are just wanting to browse how people are staying the rankings, is like I said before there, the ranked mode has been completely reset, so you will now be able to see who's in the top ranks here. So be sure to look at it and enjoy the race, as it were, because we have about 2 weeks of this, and Whether you're just sitting back eating popcorn as it all unfolds, or you're just curious to see where you stand in the rankings. You got something to look forward to if this championship is of interest to you. So hopefully I don't do terribly. That's all I really ask. And with my YouTube streaming, or what is it, my Twitch streaming rather, I like to think I have a decent chance to do well with my matches. I just have little experience for all the really tight matchups, which I'll be able to improve on as the championship progresses. It just will... It'll put me off to a slow start as far as winning, I think. But I look forward to it nonetheless. And now, without further ado, let's get on to the ranked matches, shall we? Alright, it is time to get started with the first match here, folks. And this will take a little bit of getting used to, because it's not very often I get to look at my own play there and commentate at the same time. So this will be a unique experience, as my first match will be against Space Marines. He's Blood Angels too, as hinted by the fact that he's Angelos. Oh wait, that's Blood Ravens. Although the colors are kind of similar or not, so it still works out in that sense. It still works out, but nonetheless, he is going to be the first pick for this best of 3 round, and he's went with, what is it, Space Station Assault there, and I am stuck as a defender on this little bout. So my thought process, since he is going to be going so boarding torpedo heavy, and since I just switched over to my Dictator, I'm contemplating selecting that for this match. I do ultimately pick the Dictator. It's just a question at the time, as I had no idea how the points line up, because I do have the Gothic, which kind of is also for helping with deal with Space Marines. Well, at least that was the reason I had the Gothic. The only difference there was 142 points, so switching between those two ships is a drastic difference in points. But I do ultimately select my 2 Overlords, a Dictator, and with the remaining points I take 2 Widowmakers. Probably a little excessive with 2 Widowmakers, but at the time I couldn't really decide how to fit in another light cruiser or another ship of some kind. So I do have the 2 Widowmakers, at least to cover both flanks, essentially, for kind of revealing him if he decides to do anything sneaky, as it were, from attacking from the sides and that, and at least reveal him aggressively, if possible. It is a trick to make sure he doesn't snipe the Widowmakers, but the main strategy will be to pretty much sit with my battle station, because after all, it is like taking up at least 100 points of my fleet, so I need to make sure I'm getting value out of that damn thing. So the main plan is to defend it there, and with the Dictator, that should work very promising. You would think, at least that was my thought at the time, but this is, quite frankly, the first real match I've had with the Dictator, so I'm not exactly sure what to expect. I just know fighters are useful there, it's just whether it can also contribute with the bombers. And also, as you may have noticed here, I decided to kind of place all the mines into the gas cloud there, because really, I'm going to be trying to chip them down at range, and at least force them to come to me, because again, I have the battle station there. I got a crap ton of shield transfers with the 2 beacons to also contribute with this fleet. So I'm incredibly durable if I can deny the bombardment cans to try and hit my hull there as much as possible, especially if he ever locks on. I don't know if I actually pay attention to what orders he's fielding for this match, but that is the intention anyway. So what he fields in this match, I'll spoil it for you already, is he did the 2 strike cruisers, 1 battle barge, the traditional all maximum bombardment cans essentially there. And I even think all 3 of them were favored, if I'm correct in that matter. I know at least he had the Chaplain, because I know he used that effect during this match, but the plan is pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. I stand my ground. As intimidating as these torpedoes are, I have like, what, 6 fighter waves available to me? A few of them will be a little bit slow to reach my fleet, at least, the ones in the station there, but with this position here, my cruisers can take a little bit of the torpedoes while being in a good position to shoot down and contribute with their point defense. But my main thought when I see him not moving at all is that he's going to try for this turtling torpedo route. So after seeing success of swording off the first salvo and getting damage at least on the 1 strike cruiser I revealed, I decide to commit with just sitting here. I don't think I ever really feel like I need to push forward, because I talked about before in my stream at least, I like to try and force them to take action there, especially with the Widowmakers and the fact all my ships have at least 1200 unit range, or 12,000 unit range. So I do have the range, if I'm careful with my Widowmakers and positioning, to kind of force an engagement. And with 2 Widowmakers, or 2 Overlords actually, I actually have really damn good long-range lance fire too, to slowly get to his armor if it were to go that route. But I feel like I'm winning this bout, because already his 1 strike cruiser there has lost 100 health, and you won't realize it until later, but that battle barge in the middle has actually lost like maybe 100 health so far as well. Once it's revealed, it actually took a crap ton of damage. I don't know how many of the torpedoes in the first few salvos were contributing to that though, but he's got a little bit antsy, he's got a little bit worrisome, I think, because now he's starting to move his fleet forward. And we revealed his 2 hunters there, and there's the battle barge as well. As you can see, 200, almost 300 damage already on that battle barge, and it does actually have a favor. So we know where he invested all his points, I guess, in the renown, because you have 8,000 renown to work with, and it seems like he went all or nothing kind of with this fleet. So you can imagine my delight in wanting to kill all 3 of these ships here, because every one of them has favors, although I never did check what kind of upgrades he had though, because if I cared about favors on my ships, I can easily cut back on a few upgrades that are non-essential. And yes, I neglected my 1 Widowmaker there a little bit, which could cost me, but again, with me just relying on my torpedoes, I don't think that's this issue with my fission, as the hunters, funny enough, are trying to chase down my other Widowmaker. They don't quite have the firepower to do it, I don't believe, but it's something I want to take seriously, because he is making his way over to the left, which, of course, there's a gas cloud there. It's a gas cloud that's conveniently within sensor range of my my battle station, so he should not be able to hide in there at all. He would have to burn a silent run for that, which is why I placed all the mines on the right there. As useless as they are for this match, I feel like they are amazing deterrent there. He has to micromanage like crazy if he wants to avoid them. And if I'm firing torpedoes at him as well, that adds even more issues. That compounds that fact. But I don't get to see the fruits of my labor for this match. Unfortunately, as the stray fire is also going over towards the hunters, and I do successfully kill one of them, which isn't really a threat at all, quite frankly. My Widowmaker hasn't even lost his shields quite yet, and his battle barge, even with the repairs, is almost at half health, so I'm doing amazing damage here right now because of his lack of fighter defenses. And since I've been silent running, he's not really able to launch his Thunderhawks either, I believe, so I think I've been diligent enough. I know I silent run at the beginning. I don't know how active or proactive I've been with the silent running, but since he has to rely on the Stormhawks, he doesn't really have very effective torpedo defense, and it is showing its worth. Just look at that. The battle barge already is down below half health. That's like 800 health on top of the repairs that I'm pretty certain he did. So I think it's safe to say I'm in good exchange here, although I am starting to poke out a little bit from the battle station. He could do damage to me safely without retaliation from that. Not to mention, I think I completely forgot about the battle station altogether, because it could have launched bombers, I think, when it was flying around there with his ships. I think he may have gotten close enough for my bombers to launch an attack, which would have been doing a lot of work for me there. A little bit of additional damage, although with his tight formation, that'd probably be easier said than done, because my Dictator, I actually upgrade the fighter pilots there to increase their survivability, even if it's only a very minor amount rather. But they still are 4 bomber squadrons, which I think is no joke, as we get ourselves a nice lovely fire on that battle barge too. He does start to get a little impatient though. As he reveals me there, I start to take free shots at him. Although he's still got 75 armor, he's not braced for impact just yet, but both my overlords have armor-piercing rounds, so I'm kind of willing to accept this charge. So I just sit here mostly and let him come to me. As already, his second strike cruiser's already taking big hits. And I tried to get a couple torpedoes there, but it's not the best hit with the point defense successfully sorting them off. But with Prow gone, that first strike cruiser is almost useless. And that's the one with the chaplain too, I believe. Let's see, he has the Librarian and the second strike cruiser I'm looking at now, and of course Chapter Master on the battle barge. So, he is trying to spread out the damage. He took a crap ton of damage, and he's doing a decent job focusing on my one dictator here. Is that the dictator? Yeah, that is my dictator getting stomped, so I'm kind of okay with that. It's not my damage dealer, and I do try to warp it out, and I also upgrade its navigator as well, as I boost its shields to keep it from getting heavily damaged, and it gets out without any issues. It will be back. It will be back, folks, if it is deemed necessary that I need the extra bombers. Probably unnecessary, I think. Well, but as I say that, he can afford this army again. What I mean by is the battle barge and 2 strike cruisers, so he could still have the same kind of force. He just is going to lack all these favors that I'm about to ruin. As this damage is getting spread out, I do acknowledge that, but I think with 2 overlords at full health, I am in damn good shape. I just gotta be careful. I gotta be damn careful about taking too much damage, as he gets amazing 3 fires from those boring torpedoes. And oh, actually, I think those were actually the Thunderhawks. So that's gonna melt through me relatively quickly, but still being at full health, warping out's still an option. And I have Brace for Impact up. I am in good shape as the battle barge explodes in righteous fury. The Emperor will be proud this day. Don't tell him that I killed a loyalist Space Marines, though. Tell him it was Chaos Marines. He'll understand. And ooh, look at that torpedo shot. What a way to end it off, huh? Ooh, as the explosion just practically threatens to heavily damage my overlord. I forgot about that. Ooh, that was painful. Thankfully, even with the generator down, the navigator does allow me to warp out the overlord without it being heavily damaged. So, in the end, I lost nothing permanent from that match. I can field my overlords again next round if I needed to, so I feel comfortable with this first round. Destroying 3 favors, a little bit oblivious to the upgrades that he has, but I think it's a safe assumption he invested a lot into those 3 ships, so in the end, I'm probably in a far better shape for round 2 and possibly round 3 if I were to lose that. And quite frankly, I do consider the second match to be a throwaway round, because my mindset this time is more about focusing on killing his ships. Try to destroy at least the second battle barge, because I'm going in thinking he's going to field another bombardment can one, the Mark 1 I believe. So if I can kill that, he will be with a really weird mismatch of ships, because I talked about how the vanguards at least are really awkward to field with the strike cruisers unless you go with a lance variant or the prow bombardment cannons, which is very dangerous in my opinion, my thoughts anyway. It's why I never took the vanguard bombardment cannon variant, because you have to be flying towards your ship, and with how potentially easy the vanguard can get shot down, especially if armor penetrating rounds ever a factor, I like the torpedoes a little bit more because it gives me a lot more freedom that way. So my priority for the next round, if I can somehow kill the second battle barge, win or lose, then I don't think there's any way he can win the third round. He's just not going to have the synergy he needs, let alone I don't think he has any renown to invest in those ships left if he invested everything in his battle barges and at least the 2 strike cruisers we just destroyed. So I'm feeling really good after this point. Can you blame me? I lost nothing permanent. I did warp him out, mind you, as far as how that single battle went, but for standing forces I have lost nothing, and I am in a awkward predicament. I'm thinking like either breakthrough or convoy, and I ultimately do pick convoy at the end of the day, because I wanted to pick a mission that forces him to come to me, essentially. To get that engagement I want with his battle barge if he fields it, so I ultimately pick convoy here. There's no suspense, folks. Don't follow the mouse pointer. I'm telling you right now, listen to me speaking to you through the microphone right now. He is picking convoy. I am picking convoy rather. That was a weird third person result. Whatever. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Ignore me. This time, though, I don't field the overlords. I just go with the straight-up, tried and tested Retribution Double Tyrant variant. And one thing, if you pay attention to my Dauntless there, the fourth one, I decide to strip out the favor in exchange for the 2 armor-piercing rounds of my Tyrants there. That was something you may have not noticed. Well, actually, I don't think I made the change when I did my starting video about how I was going to do this championship series. So, I have ships with armor-penetrating rounds on all of them, and the Tyrants are damn good at what they do. Arguably, they could be more powerful than the Overlords there, depending on how you view the Lances in terms of damage, because the Lances on the Overlord do have the extra armor penetration, but the Tyrant has actually better macro cannons. They're just shorter range if I do get in a close-up fight, so I want to feel that the Tyrants are in a better position there. Maybe not so much against Space Marines, mind you, considering they're all around 75 armor, but I think this is a very damn effective fleet regardless. And it's been working well for me before, because this has been the main fleet I've been fielding for my stream on Sunday and Saturday. I think, yeah, I didn't do any rank match on my Saturday stream, but I do believe I was fielding the Retribution Double Tyrants though, and they're good at what they do. Every single one of my ships has the range to put pressure on them while having the close range power if I can put myself in an advantageous position, because all I really have for upgrades is really all mostly invested in my shields, my durability, and that more encourages a long range type of style, considering macro batteries are kind of more than likely to not hit my shields. So what I try and do is split up my convoy there a little bit, since I have access to two gas clouds. I am trying to think of a way to try and trick him with my Widowmaker, because I do put that with the 3 conveyors. I ultimately put 3 conveyors, I put 3 conveyors there over on the left, and put the Widowmaker in as my 4th. Try and make him think that I have 4 conveyors over on the left behind my ship, so that way even if he were to find my ships elsewhere, there would not be enough for him to get the victory that way. He would have to come to me. Whether that works or not, it remains to be seen, but we start off slow. We start poking out slowly but surely just to see what he's kind of utilizing. It's hard to tell until we start seeing torpedoes, really, because Stormhawks on his ships could mean anything almost. And in this case, he actually fields 2 vanguards and a battle barge. Not the Mark 1 battle barge I need to point out. He actually fielded the Lance variant. So it's going to be kind of interesting, because he actually has a really reliable way to shoot down my conveyors at range, because of their instant, they never miss. There's no travel time, so I have to kind of get in front of the conveyors if he's going to try and snipe them with those lances. Again, I never did check his upgrades, and I sure as hell didn't do it for this match either. But at the time, I'm thinking he went with the Double Strike Cruisers again. The Double Strike Cruisers and the Battle Barge, that's what my mindset is coming in here, so I'm trying to get what free damage I can, since it worked so well the last time. And I think with the beacon identifying the Widowmaker, he probably realizes that I have the hit in my fleet, the majority of my conveyors elsewhere, so that Nova, that Gladius anyway, decides to go snooping through the gas clouds they're trying to find him. And sadly, as much as I love to be doing extra damage to it, I don't really do anything that sticks. Nothing that sticks on it all, so it is a threat there, but I completely ignore it, because its damage alone isn't all that threatening to the conveyors. In fact, later on in this match, you actually see me fight the Gladius with all 3 of my conveyors, and they're actually on the winning end of that fight. I hate to spoil it for you now, because that would actually be a bit of an interesting twist you probably wouldn't consider. Considering I have 3 turrets. Yeah, they only have, I think I have double macro turrets on these things. Or is they single? I'm not sure. But either way, I have the macro turrets and I have double the shields for these conveyors and 200 health as well. They just lack armor on the side and rear, so with the prow facing the Gladius, they actually end up winning the match down the bottom right. So it takes a little bit of while before I decide to do that though, because I have 2 conveyors silent running trying to fake out the Gladius by silent running out of the gas cloud, making him wonder where the other 2 are hiding. And then ultimately I turn them around as we reveal the first Vanguard. So I was expecting all this time for it to be a strike cruiser because I think that was the first time he shot the torpedoes. And I do not budge at all with these stasis bombs. I just move slightly forward so that way my macro cannons aren't really slowed down as I start to murder this poor little Vanguard. It's not quite in range of the armor-piercing rounds, but you can see just how it's not long for this world. As I finally just now make the decision to commit to this fight against the Gladius, I set their attack pattern to face the prow and just engage the Gladius. While this Vanguard here tries to go after the conveyors here, but with the stasis bomb actually in the way, I think it slows down the Thunderhawks. Actually, they completely vanished. They can actually completely vanish. Did me destroying the prow to actually get rid of the Thunderhawks as well? Because I'm not that close, so I'm a bit shocked by that. I did not notice that in the previous match, or in the actual match rather. And there's his Lance Battle Barge already taking a world of hurt, as I happily welcome it with open arms. As I begin to turn my ship there, one of my turrets is in a bit of an awkward spot as it almost rams the Retribution, but I'm getting full fire potential here as the Vanguard gets eradicated pretty damn quickly. And the battle barge that I want to kill is already at half health as it flies towards me. And meanwhile, as you can see, the conveyors are actually winning this bout. No upgrades on them, but they're winning the fight against the Gladius. But the one thing I didn't realize is his second Vanguard is actually now flying towards over the conveyors. So this is the moment of truth. If the battle barge can avoid killing any of these conveyors, I am in good shape to win, because his Vanguard will have no way to stop him. So it's looking promising. I just need one good solid hit, kill this battle barge quickly, and somehow avoid the macro cannons, because it's getting close, it's getting tenuous. Brace for impact's up, repairs are underway, and he fires, and unfortunately I do lose the one conveyor. But the battle barge is also eradicated. As the torpedoes hit, the Vanguard arrives to deal with these conveyors, and in the end, I'm happy with what I accomplished there. I got rid of the second battle barge, but I am actually a little bit slow to respond to this Vanguard fleet, because actually, what I do is I go flying towards the other side of the map for a little bit. It's not that I'm hesitant, it's just that I feel like I accomplished what I needed here. I could have still won this round if the Vanguard got destroyed in time. And as it stands now, this thing is fast enough that it's able to really easily get at me there. And the Retribution's engines are still down there. I never got around to repairing that, even with the repairs up. And I did ram myself a little bit too. That's why that conveyor was such low health. But in the end, that's not a huge risk there. It's saving these 3 ships. And with him ramming and using his boarding though, he is more than likely to do that there. I do dodge the dumbfire torpedoes, so I'm good there, but he's going in for another ramming run, so I try and spread out the conveyors, try and get them flying towards the ships. But again, this is when I remember that the engines are still crippled. I was wondering why the dang Retribution was so slow. I recognized it was engines were down before when I was fighting the battle barge. I just had no incentive to repair at that time, because the battle barge was coming to me and I was in a very dominating position. So he does miraculously manage to kill both the conveyors relatively quickly. I don't know if it was boarding torpedoes, if he just ran both of them. But there's one conveyor left, the other 2 are way over on the other side of the map, and I start firing torpedoes to try and, if get really lucky, shoot his engines, hit his engines. If I'm lucky enough, just destroy the engines. That would be a world difference. And he actually extended his sensors, didn't he? From what I just saw there, I think he extended his sensors, which actually ends up getting me killed here. Because he sees the conveyor. There's no way it can get out of its vision. So he launches the Thunderhawks. There's no way to run. Boarding torpedoes are coming. Evasive maneuvers all I want. Dodge the boarding torpedoes. The Thunderhawks do the work that they need to. Okay, I lied. I know it dies. No spoilers. Well, I did spoil it. It does die. It does die because he's about to ram in a moment.
Yes, Admiral.
And I tried desperately to kind of get out of the side there, but no. It does go down. In the end, though, it's like I said halfway through this round, I destroyed the second battle barge. All he has left is 3 vanguards, 2 strike cruisers, and that's pretty much it. And from what I've seen, he has all torpedoes on the vanguards that I've seen so far. So, he could still do damage, I'm not gonna lie. But in the end, he has no raw power. He has no power at all to really brute force me, at least. He has to rely on strategy and positioning, and just outmaneuvering me, I think, in this final round. So I feel like I've already won. I really felt like I already won this match. I'm not gonna lie. And it's feeling good there. As the nerves are starting to go away. They actually went away midway through the first match, I think. So, I'm focused. I'm ready. I decided to go with what I already just did. Field my double tyrants and the retribution. And I think, yeah, and of course, since it's 700 points, I add the Dauntless and the Widowmaker to go with it. So, pretty straightforward. Lots of shield transfers to mitigate the bombardment cannon's critical hits if he ever locks on. Not that I've really been paying attention for that, which is a bit of something I'm going to have to fix. But that's the idea. Have the shields come back up quickly and often to mitigate any critical hits, especially for the lock-ons, ideally. That way, I can keep my ships in good shape, considering I don't have any belt armor on these ships. That's something I'm really wary of, is the fact that I could suffer random critical hits that could cost me dearly. But he has to get through the shields first, so I'm kind of gambling the fact that my shields are so durable and I have ways to recharge them quickly and often, especially with the shield transfer on a 2-minute cooldown, that I'm not really worried about that. It's only the lock-ons that probably could get through before I can respond to shield transfers. That's the only thing I can think of, and that's assuming they've reloaded by that time the shields are down. Because I have the additional capacitors for the retribution to help speed up its recharge, and I also have that for the overlords. The tyrants, on the other hand, they only have the transfer and a supercharged void shield to help tank a little bit of the shield damage. So that is the strategy, that's the plan. I'm looking at the counter at this time. As you'll notice, I'm going to make a comment about it in a moment, but he's decided to field a lot of frigates here. I'm pretty certain he fielded 1 strike cruiser and a vanguard of some kind, or at least 1 strike cruiser. But everything else is like Novas, I believe. Everything else is Novas with like at least 2 cruisers. As he's joking, is not all cruisers, thankfully. Thank God. Imagine what 10 strike cruisers would look like in this match. I think I would need to have 1,000 more points. I think the math adds up there, right? Just about? Yeah, 1,000 more points, and then we can have ourselves a 10 cruiser fight. That'd actually be interesting, because I actually did encounter some really strange matchmaking bug when I did progression mode that gave me 960 points. Unfortunately, my opponent, I think, got screwed over a little bit because he said he wasn't able to select his ship, so it was a progression match there. I was willing to let him warp out, but all his ships were level 10 apparently, so it was a weird and funny match, needless to say. This was like a level 3 fleet, I need to point out. My fleet at the time was an Admiral level 3 when that bug happened, so I could only field like 3 light cruisers, because I think my cruiser was heavily damaged at the time, and nothing but swords, or novas, or firestorms, I think. It was hilarious. Silly, but hilarious, and I don't know how it happened, so... Don't know what else to say on that, but as you can see, I'm trying to fire torpedoes, trying to get more harassment damage as he decides to try and hit from 2 angles. Which, unfortunately, has not been working very well for him before, because with the Imperial Navy's amazing broadside weaponry, if he tries to hit me on 2 sides and he doesn't have the proper maneuverability and speed to dodge my macro cannons, then this is a straight up in my advantage. I wholeheartedly welcome this attack. I'm just cautious about torpedoes and anything that might catch me off guard, because I still don't know what cruisers he's fielding, even though I just detect the 1 Vanguard right now. It's a Mark 1, so I don't know which variant that is off the top of my head, the Vanguard. But I detect a bunch of Novas on the left, lock-on's enabled, and now we're going to start swatting some flies, as it were. Just wait till they get in 3,000 unit range, folks. That's when the armor-piercing rounds start to take effect, as already one of the Novas is getting eradicated. The extra ones are getting shot on the left. I'm positioning myself for torpedoes to receive his 2 cruisers, and there's the strike cruiser. Mark II. That one has a lance, so I'm thinking this is supposed to be like his utility ships there, because I destroyed his main heavy hitters in the first round, as made apparent by all the favors he put on those ships, putting them all together. So, I don't need to leave you in suspense. You already know what happens, I think, here, as already the Vanguard gets eradicated. It's in point blank range for armor-piercing rounds. Just look at that damage, folks. That's what lock-on and master gunners at almost 3,000 unit range will do for you. As slowly but surely, the Novas and frigates are starting to go down. And just look at that amazing firepower. In ranked mode, I don't think you can very often get to admire such raw firepower, especially from the Retribution, as it's unloading everything. Maybe not hitting very much, especially now that lock-on's down, but damn does it feel good. Damn does it feel good. Torpedoes get a couple of hits, Nova's dying miraculously well, and I'm pretty certain those were the damaged torpedoes. I'm pretty certain those were not Meltas, despite the fact I got 2 fires there. But this match is over. I was really damn confident after destroying the 2nd battle barge that basically cost me a 2nd round, I think, because it wasn't that I was hesitant. I just felt like I accomplished what I needed to. The convoy mission was kind of a throwaway match, but I still could have won that if I took it seriously. Well, maybe not seriously. I just didn't want to tempt fate that he would try and kamikaze his way onto the conveyors with like a bunch of Vanguards. That was my real risk. I want to try and force him to spread out so that way I can kind of charge and punish any of his ships that try to go after the main conveyor fleet. So, it's easy to say I messed up and should have had all the conveyors in together for that convoy mission, but with no way to reliably know what he's going to field, let alone what he has for a fleet in general, it's difficult to make that call. I felt it was safer to just focus on killing his fleet and spreading him out so that way he would be put in an awkward position and eventually some of his ships would have died. So, that is the first match of this championship so far, folks. I am looking forward to bring this on a regular basis there as the championship progresses.